Captain Kim Dae stared at the massive view screen showing the dark expanse of space beyond Earth's solar system. The exploration vessel Endurance had been traveling for 3 months, searching for signs of intelligent life among the distant stars. His crew of 42 humans represented Earth's first serious attempt to make contact with alien civilizations. "Captain, we're detecting multiple energy signatures approaching from the outer rim," announced Lieutenant Park Ji-min from her communications station. Her voice carried a mix of excitement and concern. "They're moving fast and in formation." Kim Dae felt his heart rate increase. This was the moment humanity had been preparing for. "All stations, prepare for first contact protocols. Dr. Lee, please report to the bridge." Dr. Lee Hannah, the ship's chief medical officer, arrived quickly. Was a calm woman who had volunteered for this mission specifically to study alien biology. "Are we really about to meet them?" she asked, checking her medical scanner. "It looks that way," Kim Dae replied. "Engineer Park, what can you tell me about those ships?" Engineer Park Taejon looked up from his console with wide eyes. "Captain, their technology is incredible. The ships appear to be made of some kind of crystalline material that bends light around them. Our sensors can barely track them." Alien vessels came into view on the main screen. They were beautiful and terrifying at the same time. Each ship looked like a giant crystal that seemed to shift and change color as it moved. There were 12 of them, arranged in a perfect formation that surrounded the human vessel. "There. Hailing us," Park Ji-min reported, audio only. "Put them through," Kim Dae ordered. He straightened his uniform and prepared to make history. The voice that filled the bridge was cold and mechanical. It spoke perfect English, which surprised. "Everyone, small vessel. You will identify yourselves immediately. State your species and purpose in this sector." Kim Dae stepped forward. "This is Captain Kim Dae of the Earth vessel Endurance. We represent the human race from the planet Earth. We come in peace, seeking friendship and knowledge." There was a long pause. Then the alien voice returned, sounding almost amused. "Humans, we have heard rumors of your species. Primitive beings who have barely left their home world. You are far from home, little creatures." Dr. Lee frowned at the condescending tone. "They don't seem very friendly," she whispered. "We may be new to space travel," Kim Dae replied diplomatically, "but we're eager to learn from more advanced civilizations. Perhaps we could arrange a meeting to discuss mutual benefits." The alien voice laughed, a sound like grinding metal. "Mutual benefits? You misunderstand your situation. We are the Valdari Collective. We have studied dozens of species across this galaxy. You will surrender your vessel for biological assessment. We must catalog your weaknesses before we decide whether your world is worth conquering." The bridge fell silent. This was not the peaceful first contact humanity had hoped for. Kim Dae felt anger rising in his chest, but he kept his voice steady. "We will not surrender. Came here in peace, but we will defend ourselves if necessary. Defend yourselves." The alien voice sounded genuinely amused now. "With what? Your primitive weapons? Your fragile organic bodies? You cannot even leave. Your atmosphere without metal shells to protect you." Sergeant Choi Minho, the ship's marine commander, stepped forward. "Captain, my team is ready. We won't go down without a fight. Your defiance is noted." The Faldari voice continued. "It will make for interesting data. Prepare for boarding. Resistance will only prolong your suffering." The alien ships suddenly fired beams of energy that seemed to pass right through the Endurance's hull without causing visible damage. But immediately, every system on the ship began to fail. The lights flickered, the engines died, and the artificial gravity wavered. "There. Using some kind of phase weapon, Park?" Taejon called out frantically. "It's disrupting our electronics at the molecular level. I can't get anything working." Kim Dae grabbed the nearest handhold as the ship shuddered. "All crew, prepare for boarding action." "This is not a drill." Double quotes, Dr. Lee checked her medical kit. "If they're as advanced as they seem, what chance do we have?" "We're human," Kim Dae replied firmly. "We don't give up easily." The first sign of boarding came as strange, shimmering portals opened throughout the ship. Tall, thin figures emerged from the portals. They wore flowing robes and had pale skin that seemed to glow with an inner light. Their faces were angular and sharp, with large eyes that reflected no warmth. Sergeant Choi and his Marines opened fire, but their bullets passed harmlessly through energy shields surrounding each alien. The Valdari warriors carried weapons that fired beams of light, instantly paralyzing any human they touched. One by one, the crew of the Endurance fell. Captain Kim Dae was the last to be captured, still trying to coordinate resistance even as the paralysis took hold. The last thing he saw before losing consciousness was Dr. Lee being carried away by two Valdari soldiers. When he woke up, he was in a small, sterile cell aboard an alien vessel. Through a transparent wall, he could see other members of his crew. In similar cells, they had been captured, cataloged, and prepared for study like laboratory animals. The Valdari had made their first mistake. They assumed humans were just another weak species to be easily broken and discarded. They had no idea what they had actually caught. The Valdari research station was a nightmare of gleaming metal corridors and sterile white rooms. Captain Kim Dae woke up strapped to a cold examination table, bright lights shining down on him. Strange machines hummed around him, their purpose unclear, but threatening. A tall alien figure entered the room. Unlike the warriors who had captured them, this one wore a white robe and carried various medical instruments. Its pale skin seemed to glow under the harsh lights, and its large black eyes showed no emotion as it studied the human specimen. "I am researcher Thekvar," the alien said in perfect English. "You will be my primary subject for biological assessment. Your species intrigues us with its primitive nature." Kim Dae tried to move, but found himself held down by energy restraints. "What do you want from us?" he demanded. "We want to understand your limitations," Thekvar replied, picking up a device that looked like a knife made of light. "Every species has breaking points. We must catalog yours before our fleets arrive at your world." In the room next door, Dr. Lihana was going through her own examination. The Valdari had stripped her of her uniform and replaced it with a thin hospital gown. She shivered as another researcher, this one smaller but equally cold, approached her table. "Subject appears to be a medical specialist," the alien noted, speaking into a recording device. "We will begin with standard pain threshold testing." Alien pressed a small device against Dr. Lee's arm. Immediately, burning pain shot through her body. She gritted her teeth and refused to scream, even as the device left a red mark on her skin. "Interesting," the alien muttered. "Pain tolerance higher than expected. Note for further study." Down the hall, Engineer Park Tajan was experiencing his own version of hell. The Valdari had connected electrical devices to his body and were sending currents through him while monitoring his responses. Each shock should have knocked him unconscious, but somehow he remained awake and aware. "Subject continues to maintain consciousness despite electrical trauma," his captor reported. "Nervous system appears more resilient than baseline projections." Park Tajan glared at his torturer through gritted teeth. "Is that all you've got?" he gasped between shocks. The alien researcher stepped back, clearly surprised by the human's defiance. Most species they had tested would have died from half this treatment. Sergeant Choi Min-ho was in the worst situation of all. The Valdari had decided to test human physical limits by systematically breaking bones and cutting flesh. They expected him to beg for mercy or fall unconscious from trauma. Instead, he remained alert and angry. "You're wasting your time," he told his captors as they inflicted another wound. "Humans don't break as easily as you think." "All subjects will break eventually," replied the lead researcher. "It is simply a matter of finding the correct pressure points." But as the hours passed, something unexpected began to happen. The wounds on the humans were healing faster than the Valdari had ever seen. Dr. Lee's burn mark faded to a faint pink line within 2 hours. Park Tae-chon's electrical burns disappeared completely by the next day. Even Sergeant Choi's cuts were closing, and healing at a rate that made his captors nervous. "This is impossible," Thekvar muttered, studying Captain Kim Dae's latest test results. "The subject has recovered from injuries that should have required medical intervention. The cellular regeneration rate exceeds our fastest healing species by 300%. The alien researchers began to gather in small groups, whispering among themselves. They had tested hundreds of species across the galaxy, but none had shown this level of biological resilience. Most creatures they captured died within the first day of testing. The humans had now survived a full week and were actually getting stronger. Dr. Lee had been using her medical training to study her captors whenever they weren't looking. She noticed that the Valdari moved carefully, as if afraid of injuring themselves. Their skin was thin and pale, and they seemed to tire easily. When one researcher accidentally cut himself on a broken instrument, he immediately collapsed from what appeared to be shock. "They're not as strong as they pretend to be?" she whispered to Captain Kim during a brief moment when their cells were close together. "Their bones are hollow like birds. They can't handle physical stress." "Keep studying them," Kim Dae whispered back. "We need to find their weaknesses." The psychological torture was just as intense as the physical abuse. The Valdari played recordings of Earth's destruction, showed fake videos of human cities burning, and tried to break the crew's will to resist. But instead of breaking down, the humans grew more determined. "Your world will burn," Dekfar told Captain Kim Dae during one session. "Your people will serve as slaves in our empire. Your defiance only prolongs their suffering." "You don't understand humans at all," Kim Dae replied calmly. "The harder you push us, the harder we push back. That's who we are." The Valdari researchers were beginning to realize they had made a serious error. These weren't primitive beings who would break under pressure. They were survivors who seemed to grow stronger with each challenge. The data they were sending back to their fleet was starting to paint a very different picture of humanity than they had expected. In the depths of the research station, humans were learning, adapting, and planning.
How they were beginning to understand
Their captors' weaknesses while discovering their own hidden strengths. The Valdari had thought they were studying helpless primitives, but they were actually teaching dangerous enemies exactly how to defeat them. Dr. Lee Hanna had been counting the days in her cell. 2 weeks had passed since their capture, and she had been using every moment to study her captors. As a medical officer, she was trained to observe and analyze. And what she discovered about the Valdari gave her the first real hope since their imprisonment. "Their respiratory system is incredibly weak," she whispered to Captain Kim Dae during their daily exercise period. The Valdari allowed the humans to walk in circles for exactly 15 minutes each day, thinking it would prevent muscle deterioration. They didn't realize the humans were using this time to communicate. "I've noticed they wear breathing masks when they work for long periods," Kim Dae replied quietly. "And they can't lift anything heavier than a few pounds." Dr. Lee nodded.
Of their
"Bone density is about half of ours. When that researcher cut himself yesterday, he nearly died from blood loss. What we would call a paper cut sent him into shock." In the cell next to them, Engineer Park Taejon was pretending to sleep, while actually listening to the Valdari guards. He had discovered that their language was based on mathematical patterns, and his engineering mind was slowly decoding their conversations. "They're scared," he whispered when the guards moved away. "I heard them talking about requesting backup. They're saying we're not responding to treatment like other species." Sergeant Choi Min-ho had been the most brutalized of all the prisoners, but he was also the most observant about their security systems. "The guards never come into our cells alone," he reported. "They always travel in pairs, and they stay at least 6 feet away from us at all times." "They're afraid to get close," Dr. Lee realized. "They've seen how fast we heal, how strong we are compared to them. They're starting to understand they made a mistake." The turning point came when the Valdari decided to increase their testing. Ver had received orders from the Fleet Command to accelerate the research. The invasion of Earth was scheduled to begin in 30 days, and they needed complete biological data on human weaknesses. "We will begin advanced stress testing," Dekfar announced to his team. "Use the maximum settings on all equipment. We must break these subjects and understand their limits." But the Valdari researchers were about to learn that humans don't have the same limits as other species. When they increased the electrical torture on Park Taejon, he not only survived but began to understand how their technology worked. The engineer watched the alien equipment carefully, memorizing every circuit and connection. "You're just making me angry," he told his captors as they increased the voltage. "Angry humans are dangerous humans." Dr. Lee's torturer tried using a new chemical compound designed to cause severe pain and tissue damage. Instead of screaming, Dr. Lee studied the effects on her own body, watching how her immune system adapted to the foreign substance within hours. "Fascinating," she said calmly as the chemical burns healed before her captor's eyes. "Your poison is actually helping me build immunity. Thank you for the inadvertent medical treatment." The Valdari researcher stepped back in horror. No species had ever thanked him for torture before, Captain. Kimday was subjected to psychological torture designed to break his will. They showed him endless videos of Earth's supposed destruction, played recordings of screaming humans, and tried to convince him that resistance was hopeless. Instead, he used the time to study the layout of the research station, memorizing every corridor and room he could see on their screens. "You're showing me exactly how your station is organized," he told Dekvar with a smile. "This is very helpful intelligence." The most important discovery came when Sergeant Choi Min-ho deliberately provoked his guards into a physical confrontation. One young Valdari warrior, frustrated by Choi's defiance, made the mistake of entering his cell without backup. The fight lasted exactly 3 seconds. Choi grabbed the alien's wrist and applied gentle pressure. The Valdari's hollow bones snapped like twigs, and he collapsed unconscious from the pain. Choi quickly searched the fallen guard and found a small communication device. "They're not warriors," he reported to the others later. "They're scientists playing at being soldiers." That guard weighed maybe 90 pounds, and his bones broke when I barely touched him. The communication device revealed crucial information. Park Tajan managed to decode several messages between the research station and the Valdari fleet. The aliens were reporting difficulties with their human subjects, requesting additional security and expressing doubt about the invasion timeline. "They're losing confidence," Park Tajan explained. "The fleet commanders are starting to question whether humans are as primitive as they thought." Dr. Lee had been working on the most important discovery of all. She had been deliberately triggering her body's healing responses, pushing her regenerative abilities to their limits. Each day, she recovered faster from the torture sessions. Her immune system was adapting to every chemical they used. Her body was becoming resistant to their weapons. "I think I understand now," she told the others. "They've been testing hundreds of species, but they've never encountered anything like us. We're not just surviving their tests, we're getting stronger." The humans began to coordinate their resistance. They shared information, planned together, and started deliberately demonstrating their capabilities to the hidden cameras. Instead of hiding their strength, they began showing off their healing abilities, their pain tolerance, and their mental resilience. The Valdari researchers watched in growing alarm as their subjects turned their own torture sessions into training exercises. These weren't broken prisoners, they were adapting predators, learning how to hunt their captors. The escape began at exactly 0347 hours station time. Dr. Lee Hanna pressed her bleeding hand against the biometric scanner of her cell door. I'd spent 3 days studying the Valdari security system, and she knew their technology was designed to read their pale, thin blood. Her thick, red human blood confused the scanner sensors completely. The door hissed open with a soft click. Dr. Lee smiled grimly as she stepped into the corridor. The Valdari had made their biggest mistake by underestimating human problem-solving abilities. She moved quickly to Captain Kim Dae's cell, using the same blood trick to free him. Within minutes, they had released Engineer Park Tajan and Sergeant Choi Min-ho. The 4 humans stood in the empty corridor, finally free after weeks of captivity. "The guard station is 50 meters ahead," Captain Kim whispered, pointing down. "The hallway? 2 guards? Standard shift rotation?" Sergeant Choi nodded and moved forward silently. The 2 Valdari guards were sitting at their control station, completely unaware of the escape. They were tall and thin, wearing their usual flowing robes and breathing masks. Neither was armed with more than a basic stun weapon. "Excuse me," Choi said politely as he walked into the guard station. The guards turned in surprise, reaching for their weapons. But Choi was already moving. He grabbed the first guard's wrist and applied gentle pressure. The alien's hollow bones snapped instantly, and he collapsed with a scream of pain. The second guard tried to run, but Choi caught him easily and applied a simple chokehold. The Valdari fell unconscious within seconds. They're so fragile, Choi reported to the others. I barely touched them. Dr. Lee checked the unconscious guards with her medical training. Cardiovascular systems can't handle even minor stress. What we consider gentle pressure is traumatic injury to them. Park Taejon had found the control station and was working frantically at the alien computers. His weeks of studying their technology paid off as he quickly accessed the station's systems. I'm downloading everything, he announced. Research files, communication logs, fleet positions, technical specifications. We're going to know everything about them. Captain Kim was studying the station layout on the main screen. How many crew members on this station? 47 total. Park Taejon replied, reading from the computer, but only 12 are actually combat trained. The rest are researchers and technicians. Then we can take this entire station, Kim decided. Choi, can you handle 12 guards? Sir, I could handle 12 guards with my hands tied behind my back, Choi replied confidently. These aliens are weaker than human children. 4 humans moved through the station like a force of nature. Every Faldari they encountered was shocked by their escape and terrified by their physical capabilities. The aliens had designed their facility to hold prisoners who would die from minor injuries. They had no defenses against humans who could heal from serious wounds and kept fighting. Dr. Lee led the assault on the medical wing. She found the other captured humans. Her crewmates were weak from the experiments, but still alive. As she freed them, each human joined the rebellion with fierce determination. They've been torturing us for weeks, said Communications Officer Park Jamin, as Dr. Lee released her from a torture device. Time to return the favor. The Valdari researchers fled in panic as the humans swept through their facility. These weren't the helpless prisoners they had been studying. These were predators who had learned their enemies' weaknesses and were now hunting them. Park Taejon reached the main communications array and began broadcasting on all frequencies. His message went out to both Earth and the Valdari fleet, carrying the research data they had stolen. This is Engineer Park Taejon. Of the Earth vessel Endurance, he transmitted. We have escaped from Valdari captivity and seized their research station. We are transmitting complete data on Valdari biology, technology, and military capabilities. The transmission included video footage of the escape, showing humans fighting effectively, despite injuries that would have killed their captors. It showed Dr. Lee treating her own wounds while coordinating the medical team, showed Captain Kim leading the assault while his own torture injuries healed in real time. The Valdari have weak bones, poor cardiovascular systems, and cannot handle physical stress. Park Taejon continued broadcasting. Their technology is advanced, but their bodies are extremely fragile. They are not the superior beings they pretend to be. Across the Valdari fleet, commanders watched the transmission with growing horror. Their most secure research facility had been captured by the very prisoners they were studying. The humans weren't just surviving impossible conditions, they were thriving and fighting back. Impossible, muttered Fleet Commander Vextalar as he watched the footage. No species has ever escaped from a research station. Sir, his aide reported nervously. We're receiving similar reports from other facilities. The human prisoners are all showing the same capabilities. They heal faster than we can hurt them, and they're learning our weaknesses. The final blow came when Captain Kim appeared on screen, standing in the research station's command center. His uniform was torn and bloody, but his wounds were already healing. Behind him, his crew was operating Valdari equipment with growing confidence. This is Captain Kim Day of Earth, he announced to the galaxy. We came in peace, but you chose war. Now, you'll learn what humans are really capable of. We don't break easily, and we don't forgive quickly. The Valdari fleet received the message just as Earth's defense forces were analyzing the same data. Humanity now knew exactly how to fight their would-be conquerors. The Valdari invasion fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of Earth's solar system, expecting to find a defenseless world populated by primitive beings. Fleet Commander Vextalar stood on the bridge of his flagship, confident that the conquest would be swift and easy. Begin planetary scan, he ordered his crew. Locate major population centers and prepare for immediate bombardment. Oh. But something was wrong. Instead of the scattered primitive defenses they expected, the Valdari found an organized fleet of human warships waiting for them. Admiral Song Haijin, commanding the hastily assembled Earth Defense Force, smiled grimly as she watched the alien vessels approach. They wanted to study human resilience, she said to her bridge crew. Now they get to experience it firsthand. The space battle that followed was unlike anything in recorded galactic history. The Valdari ships were technologically superior, with advanced shields and powerful weapons. But the human crews proved to be something the aliens had never encountered before. When Valdari boarding parties tried to capture human ships, they found themselves facing defenders who simply wouldn't die. Captain Lee Min-jae, commanding the destroyer Defiance, continued fighting even after taking multiple energy blasts that should have killed him instantly. "Is that all you've got?" shouted at a group of Valdari warriors as his wounds began to heal. "My grandmother hits harder than you." Aliens retreated in terror as Lee and his crew chased them through the ship's corridors. The humans moved with a coordination and determination that the Valdari couldn't match. Every time they shot a human down, the target would get back up within minutes. Angrier than before, on the heavy cruiser Endurance, Engineer Park Taejon was using his knowledge of Valdari technology to turn their own weapons against them. He had learned their systems during his captivity and now used that knowledge to disable their ships from the inside. "Their power systems are incredibly fragile," he reported to Admiral Song. "One good hit to the right spot, and their entire ship goes dark." Dr. Lee Hanna was serving as the fleet's chief medical officer, treating wounded humans who kept returning to battle. What amazed her most was how quickly her patients recovered from injuries that would have killed any other species. "Their weapons are designed to kill weak beings," she explained to Admiral Song. "But human bone density and muscle mass make us incredibly resistant to their energy weapons." The turning point came when Captain Kim Dae, now commanding the captured Valdari Research Station, led a strike force against the enemy flagship. His team of former prisoners moved through the alien ship like ghosts. Using their knowledge of Valdari weaknesses to devastating effect, Sergeant Choi Min-ho led the boarding party, his scarred face showing the determination of someone who had endured weeks of torture. Valdari crew fled before him, unable to match his strength or endurance. "Remember me?" Choi asked Thekvar when he found the researcher cowering in his laboratory. "I'm the primitive human you thought you could break." The alien scientist looked up at the scarred human with terror in his large black eyes. "Please, I was only following orders. I meant no harm." "You meant plenty of harm," Choi replied calmly, "but you're too weak to actually cause it." The battle ended when Fleet Commander Vex Stalor, watching his forces being systematically destroyed by beings he had considered inferior, made a decision that would change galactic history. "All ships, cease fire," he ordered. "We surrender, sir." His aide asked in shock. "We still have superior numbers and technology." "Numbers and technology don't matter when you're facing immortal warriors," Vextalar replied, watching Captain Kim's team secure his ship. "These humans don't just heal from wounds that would kill us. They learn from every battle, adapt to every challenge, and grow stronger with each conflict." The surrender was broadcast across the galaxy. Within hours, 12 other alien species that had been considering attacks on Earth sent diplomatic messages requesting peace negotiations. The sight of the mighty Valdari fleet being defeated by humans had sent shockwaves through the galactic community. 6 months later, Dr. Lee Hanna stood before the Galactic Council as Earth's first xenobiological ambassador. The scars on her arms from her time in captivity were barely visible now, but they served as a reminder of how far humanity had come. "Humanity offers friendship to all species," she addressed the assembled aliens. "We seek knowledge, trade, and mutual cooperation. But we've learned that respect must be earned through strength." The alien representatives nodded nervously. They'd all seen the footage of human resilience during the war. Stories of humans healing from fatal wounds, fighting through impossible odds, and never giving up had spread throughout the galaxy. "Your species is unique," admitted Counselor Zeftian of the Crystalline Collective. "No other beings in our records show such adaptive capabilities. You heal faster than our best medical technology can explain." "We're survivors," Dr. Lee replied. "Simply, it's who we are." Captain Kim Dae, now serving as Earth's military liaison, stood beside her. His own scars had healed completely, but the determination in his eyes remained as strong as ever. "The Valdari made a mistake," he said to the council. "They thought they could break us by studying our weaknesses. Instead, they taught us about theirs. The former enemies were now trading partners." The Valdari had learned that humanity's biological resilience made them perfect for dangerous jobs that would kill other species. Humans were now working in hazardous environments across the galaxy, earning respect and resources for Earth. Humanity had earned its place among the stars, not through conquest or superior technology, but through the simple, terrifying fact that they were impossible to break. The galaxy had learned to respect the species that rebuilt itself stronger after every challenge.